let's just go over the history of this case. Tell me where you were when this case happened and then when it went to trial.
Well, I had just come to Channel 4 in Jacksonville in 1975, the year that Jacob Dugan was put on trial and was convicted. So it was a big story. And the people that I was working with told me what happened before I got here in 1975. And the most dramatic event that I heard about, you know about these cassettes that were sent around. Okay, well, Channel 4 got one of these cassettes that had voices on it that were threatening a race war, that this murder was the beginning of a race war, and oppressed blacks should stand up, and there will be murders of other white people. And remember, this is only a few years after the race riots born out of the Martin Luther King assassination. So a lot of people's nerves were on edge. This was believed. This was not taken as a hoax. And so they had this cassette, but there was an elderly woman, I can't remember her last name, her name was Helen, and she was the switchboard operator, sweet little quiet elderly lady who gets a phone call to the switchboard from a voice that says, we're going to kill Bill Grove as one of our targets for this race war. And Bill was the Walter Cronkite of Jacksonville. He's the pioneer who started local television news. Everybody in Jacksonville knew Bill Grove. So this threat that was made to the television station was relayed to the sheriff's office, and the sheriff himself, who's dead now, Dale Carson, so is Bill, came over to the television station and brought a gun, a handgun, and gave it to Bill. Well, let me tell you, Bill was not a gun guy, okay? I'm not even sure Bill knew which end of the gun to hold. So he's got a gun put in his hand by the sheriff of Duval County, and he is whisked away to a secret location. The police went to Bill's house and got his wife, Mary, and their son, and they were hidden away because there was fear that somebody was going to murder Bill Grove. That whole town was on edge.
That would never happen these days, ever.
I don't see how it could happen again, but you want to be careful what you predict will and won't happen. You know, in this age of social media, and people say all kinds of things that get all kinds of attention, although I think to some degree all of us have become a little more skeptical about people saying things. So heavens, let's hope something like that never happens again.
Let's just talk about, because you brought up some history, you know, this was happening in a time where there was a lot of unrest in the country and
racial tension. We talk about racial tension today. Believe me, there was a lot of racial tension in the 70s.
Right. So that's what I was going to get to is we're now in a point, you know, in America where we're back in this unrest and this racial tension happening around the country, and now this happens, which to me is just coincidental.
Yeah.
But is it?
I don't think it has anything to do with the current racial tension or has an effect on the current racial tension. However, what it shows is the wheels of justice move very slowly. And here it is all these years later, and the courts have ruled that Mr. Dugan is entitled to another trial, that he did not get a fair trial. Well, what if he's acquitted? What if he's found not guilty of this crime? Yes, and I think it's generally, I don't know what really happened. I wasn't here. In fact, the reason they're having another trial is because the courts are not really satisfied that it's been made clear what exactly happened. And then, of course, behind all of this is Florida's current controversy and dilemma over the death penalty. Jacob Dugan, even if he is convicted at this new trial, and how difficult is this new trial going to be when you consider how many of the people involved are no longer with us? But even if he's convicted again, will he get the death penalty again in light of the current uncertainty?
And that's a question that I guess will be up to the state attorney's office.
Yeah, well, it'll be up to the jury and the courts, and still it's undecided whether the legislature is going to make it unanimous or whether, you know, what they're going to do.